All right, let's just jump right in. We live in a world that's, well, it's guided by these invisible signals from space, right? But what happens when someone figures out how to lie with those signals? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a secret war, one that's being fought on a battlefield you literally can't see, with a weapon that can hack reality itself.
Okay, so picture this. You're in your shiny, high-tech Tesla, cruising through the super modern streets of Dubai. You glance down at your navigation, and it tells you you're not on the highway at all. Nope. It says you're hundreds of kilometers away, completely stranded in the middle of the Arabian desert. How is that even possible?
And that's just a car. Now let's scale that up, way up. Think about a massive 300-meter cargo ship. You know, one of those giants. It's supposed to be safely floating out in the Arabian Gulf, but suddenly, its location tracker says it's miles inland. It looks like it's sailing through sand dunes on the border of the UAE and Saudi Arabia. I mean, come on, a ship on land?
But this is where it gets genuinely terrifying. A passenger jet, full of people, flying from Sharjah to Egypt. You look at the flight trackers and it looks like it's teleporting. Just zipping across the sky in this impossible zigzag pattern that completely defies the laws of physics. That's not a glitch, that's a nightmare.
So what on earth is going on here? Is this just some kind of massive coordinated software bug? You know, a simple glitch in the matrix? Well, the answer? It's a lot more deliberate and honestly, a whole lot more dangerous than that.
Because what we're seeing, these aren't accidents. Not at all. They are the calculated precision effects of an invisible weapon, a weapon being deployed right now in a new kind of electronic warfare that's playing out in the skies and seas of the Middle East.
Yeah, these bizarre events, they're all symptoms of something called GPS jamming and GPS spoofing. It's a really sophisticated tactic that's being used as a strategic weapon. And the whole point is to confuse and misdirect GPS-guided drones and missiles, basically turning our complete reliance on this technology right back against us. But, you know, to really get how this weapon works, we first need to understand the tech it's attacking. So how does a tiny little receiver in your phone know exactly where you are, using signals from satellites 20,000 kilometers up in space? It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
It all boils down to this really elegant principle called trilateration. See, those GPS satellites are basically just incredibly precise clocks, whizzing around the Earth, and they're constantly beaming down radio signals. The most important piece of information in that signal? The exact time it was sent. Okay, let's walk through this together. It's simpler than it sounds. So first, your phone gets a signal from one satellite. Just one. It calculates the distance, which puts you somewhere on the edge of a giant circle. Now a second satellite chimes in. See? That creates another circle, and suddenly your location is narrowed down to just two possible points where those circles cross. And then, the magic happens. A third satellite signal comes in, and it intersects at only one of those points. And boom, that's your exact spot on the globe.
And get this, it's not just happening with 3 satellites. Your device is constantly talking to a whole bunch of them at once, from this whole constellation of 31 active GPS satellites that are orbiting our planet right now. That's what makes your location so ridiculously accurate.
All right, so now that we know how GPS works, we can figure out how to break it. And there are 2 main ways to do it. It's super important to know the difference, because it's really the difference between using a sledgehammer and using a scalpel. Brute force versus cunning deception. So on one side, you've got jamming. Think of this as the sledgehammer, pure brute force. A transmitter just blasts out a ton of noise on the same frequency as GPS. It's like trying to have a whisper-quiet conversation next to a jet engine. The real weak signal gets totally drowned out, and all the GPS devices in the area just go dark. Drones might fall out of the sky, but you can't really control where. Now spoofing, that's the scalpel. It's so much smarter. It sends out a fake GPS signal that looks totally legit, but it's stronger than the real one. The trick is, the time data in that fake signal is a lie. Even a tiny error can make the receiver think it's hundreds of kilometers away. So with spoofing, you don't just blind a drone, you can actually hijack it. You can tell it where to go. Now you might be thinking this is all military stuff, right? Drones and missiles. But the collateral damage to our everyday civilian life is huge, and it's often totally invisible. This is about so much more than just your Google Maps app glitching out on you.
Let's talk about aviation, because the risks here are absolutely terrifying. A pilot could be flying along, thinking their navigation is perfect, while the plane is actually way off course. And those critical safety systems, like the one that screams, "pull up" if you're about to fly into a mountain, that relies on GPS. If the system thinks the plane is flying over a nice flat desert when it's really heading for a mountain range, that warning might never go off. Chilling.
But here's a danger that I bet most of us have never, ever thought about. Our entire global financial system runs on GPS time. I'm serious. Those high-frequency trading bots that buy and sell stocks in microseconds, they need perfectly accurate timestamps for every single transaction, and they get that timing from GPS satellites. So if a spoofer messes with that time signal, even by a nanosecond, it could corrupt millions of trades and literally trigger a market crash. It is a hidden, terrifying vulnerability right at the heart of our economy.
And this isn't some kind of science fiction movie plot. This is the real-world evolution of warfare. GPS actually started as a weapon, and now the power to manipulate it has become an even more potent weapon.
Just look at this timeline. It shows you how quickly this whole game has changed. Back in 1991, the US used GPS for the first time to just dominate in the Gulf War. Fast forward just 20 years to 2011, and the tables had completely turned. Iran used GPS spoofing to hijack a top-secret American stealth drone. They literally tricked it into thinking it was home and made it land on their own airfield. That one instant was a massive wake-up call for everyone. It showed the world just how powerful this invisible weapon really is.
This quote really just says it all, doesn't it? Future wars will be fought not with gunpowder, but with invisible radio waves and data manipulation. We're living in that future right now. The battlefield isn't just land, sea, and air anymore, it's the electromagnetic spectrum. The most decisive battles could be fought with signals we can't even see. So, when you boil it all down, we've built our entire modern world on this fragile, invisible system. From our phones to our financial markets, pretty much everything depends on these tiny signals from space. And that leaves us with one last, pretty unsettling question to think about. In a world that's run by signals, who really controls our reality?